Welcome into the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Thursday morning, ready for another loaded episode of the Inside Scoop. Got a really fun show today. We're going to talk a little UGA, Notre Dame, LSU, Alabama. Big show, like I said, but first, the NCAA is getting to business, right? There's been lots of talk about the NCAA this offseason not having power or potentially the school splitting from it. But then the NCAA wakes up this morning and does something. They finally, the NCAA is doing something to rein in the craziness of college football. So much change that we've seen in the offseason. So the NCAA is banning, meaning no more. Big penalties coming if this happens. A nationwide ban that will surely get things back on track. And here's the news. This comes from a letter the NCAA emailed this morning stating that schools, quote, can no longer decorate prospects' hotel rooms on official visits. And added that, quote, all cookie cakes and snacks must be handed to recruits in the lobby. So oftentimes recruits will take to social media to show off a spread of food, some gear that awaits them in their hotel room, but no more. That now looks to be the latest change being made by the NCAA. So fans will no longer see their high-profile targets and these programs that colored theme the rooms with the cookie cake on the bed. But get this, here's the workaround. The NCAA now says that recruits will have to receive these goodies in the lobby and then walk them up to their own room. So do with this information what you will, but it seems like it's a new day in college football recruiting. All right, let's get down to business. The Georgia Bulldogs are in a bit of an unfamiliar spot this offseason. Last year, the Dogs went wire to wire as the number one class in America, but this year they are sitting in third. But Kirby Smart is not done yet. Actually, we're going to talk about 5 big-time recruits that are currently trending to the Dogs. But first, guys, do me a favor and slap that subscribe button for me real quick. We're talking UGA recruiting year-round on this channel, so jump on board right now and hit subscribe. All right. Okay, so I said the Dogs currently have the number 3 ranked class in America. That is true, but they only have 5 commitments, so lots of room to make some noise. Let's take a look at 5 key recruits that the Dogs are trending for early in this 2025 cycle. You see Elijah Griffin right there, Zayden Walker, Mason Short, and Isaiah Gibson. We'll start with Elijah Griffin, 5-star plus defensive lineman from Savannah, Georgia, the number 3 player in the country, the number 1 defensive lineman. Now, they already have the number 2 defensive lineman in Justice Terry committed, but in this one, the Dogs have been a favorite, but there's competition, right? You got South Carolina, you got Clemson, you got Alabama, you got UF. Really, you got anybody in the country that could get into this recruitment would love to be in this one. But currently, Griffin is trending at 92% to UGA. And recently, this is a great sign. Griffin brought grandma by campus recently. He brought the whole family, but grandma was in on this trip. That's always a great sign. It seems like this one might not end anytime soon. I do think, why not? Griffin's the number 3 ranked player in America. I do think he'll take his official visits, but right now, it's clear that Georgia is the favorite. All right, moving on to linebacker Zayden Walker. Not just any linebacker. He's the number 1 linebacker in the country from Ellaville, Georgia, and he has offers from everyone. FSU's trying to make a run. So is South Carolina. So is Alabama, but currently trending at 78% to UGA. He made a bunch of visits in the fall. I think he'll take more this spring. He hasn't set a decision date yet. I think Walker will probably take his official visits and then make a decision. Another one that Georgia is probably right now, I think I can say it, the team to beat here. All right, switching over to the other side of the ball, offensive side. Interior offensive lineman Mason Short from Evans, Georgia. He decommitted from Bama after Saban retired, was one of their top commitments. He's 6'6", 300 pounds, plays on the interior, but he's versatile. And UGA just loves these big athletic bodies in the trenches, and they have made Short a priority. He released a Final Four that includes UGA, Clemson, Ohio State, and Kentucky. No decision date set here, but wants to take his OVs. I think that this one could get done before the summer. I think he'll probably take those official visits in the spring, so we'll see how that one works out. Now, back to the other side of the ball. Edge, Isaiah Gibson, a 4-star out of Warner Robins, Georgia. He goes 6'4", 240, the number 12 edge in America, top 150 prospect overall, and he told Chad Simmons he wants to take 4 OVs, Clemson, Georgia, OU, and Oregon. Now, you can kind of decipher his top schools if he's locking those 4 in for official visits. I don't want to say he has a top 4, but it's clear that those are the four that kind of stand out. That was until this week. And that's when a new offer from Alabama came in. Now, it seems like he's got some interest there, but still, UGA sitting in a really good spot, trending at 92% right now. So those are the guys that are currently trending, some top 150 prospects, some top 5 prospects that are currently trending to UGA. I want to give you one more, though. He's not trending to UGA just yet on the recruiting prediction machine, but I think one to watch would be edge Zion Grady, 6'4", 225 out of Troy, Alabama, another Alabama decommitment after Nick Saban retired. Now, he took a few visits in February, and Georgia was one that got him on campus. So did Florida State. Miami working really hard to get him down there, but it hasn't happened yet. Bama, though, is currently trending, but I got a feeling that Bama at 95% on the RPM doesn't really represent where things stand right now with Zion Grady. I expect UGA to be a real player here, and I think as spring visits start to set, we see that recruiting prediction machine percentage start to change. So let me know, what do you guys feel about this UGA recruiting class so far? Who could be the next to commit? Let me know. Comment section below. Is there anybody I'm missing? Let me know. All right. As I said, it's a big show today. We're going to kick it off with a look at Deuce Knight's interview on the 5-star flex. You guys might have saw that on Monday. Philip Dukes did a great job with that interview. And I take out a few moments there that I want us all to break down as a family and see what we think about what Deuce Knight's saying. Then we're going to talk some Bama QB recruiting and a little LSU as they are trending for yet another number 1 player at their position. All right, let's get it. It's about time we gave Notre Dame some love on this channel. After finishing number 11 in the 2024 recruiting class, Marcus Freeman and his staff at Notre Dame are off to a hot start in 2025. The Irish already have 17 commitments. They have more pledges than any other program. For context, Clemson, they have 11. That's the next highest commit class in the top 5. Now, as I said, Notre Dame does rank in the top 5 of the On3 industry team rankings, and the Irish's top-rated commitment, it's Deuce Knight, the quarterback from Mississippi, the 40th best player overall, and the 5th-ranked quarterback in the country in 2025. Knight is Freeman's only top 50 commitment currently, and we're going to talk more about him in a minute because on Monday, he was on this channel with Philip Dukes. It's the 5-star flex. Have you guys seen it yet? I want to hit on a few moments from that interview, so we'll get to Knight here in a minute. After Knight, though, on the offensive side of the ball, 4-star offensive tackle Owen Strebig. He is the Irish's highest-rated commitment after Deuce Knight. And Owen is a monster, exactly what you expect to see on that Notre Dame offensive front because he goes 6'7", 295 pounds from the state of Wisconsin, owns the 12th ranked offensive tackle in the country and the 125th best player overall. Now let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball for a minute where you got safety Ivan Taylor is the top rated defensive commitment. Now he comes from Winter Gardens, Florida. And I like what Notre Dame's doing here. You go to Wisconsin to find your best offensive lineman. You go to Florida and you pull a top 100 DB. Taylor goes 6', 170. He's the number 6th ranked safety in America and the number 73rd best player overall in the 2025 cycle. He's got elite testing numbers, moves fluid, smooth. He has excellent burst while the ball is in the air. And Taylor picked Notre Dame over in-state offers from FSU, UF, and Miami. Tennessee was involved in this one as well. Taylor committed to the Irish, though, on December 1st, 2023. All right. Now, as I said, we're going to get to Deuce Knight now. The lefty from Lucidale, Mississippi, he committed 5 months ago on September 18th, 2023, and at 6'4.5", 200 pounds, Knight has NFL measurables and the athleticism to make him one of the most coveted passers in this class. Now, Knight participated over the weekend in the Under Armour camp in Georgia. He did some press, so there's been a lot of articles out there this week. He also sat down, like I said, with Philip Dukes on Monday for an exclusive one-on-one. I'll link the full interview in the description below. Anyway, let's take a look at a few clips from that show, and I'm going to break it down.
We need you to have this thing started, you feel me? So it's like Coach Freeman, I'm talking to Coach Freeman like almost every day. Like he really emphasized recruiting me. Like I'm on the phone with this man. He on vacation with his family in Hawaii, and he on FaceTime with me.
All right. So we know Deuce Knight and Freeman have a great relationship. Freeman also has a great relationship with his family, but they talk a lot. I don't know if that's healthy for his relationship with his wife, but it's definitely healthy to keep Deuce Knight committed to Notre Dame, and you can tell that they are continuing to build this relationship. So that's a good thing. Love what I'm hearing about Deuce Knight and his commitment to Notre Dame. He's definitely saying all the right things, but then he goes on to talk about some other programs. So let's roll that.
Sure. I talk to somebody from Ole Miss staff at least every day. You know, me being a Mississippi guy, that's the thing that they harp on. Like, hey, you could really stay home, put on big for your state, play under one of the best offensive minded head coaches in Coach Kiffin. You know, he a quarterback guru type, and then it's just more people gonna come out. Like me being a Mississippi homegrown guy.
That's expected. I mean, I see what Coach Kiffin's doing, but the surprising thing, I guess, is that they talk every day. That's a lot of talking if you're committed to Notre Dame to talk to Ole Miss, the program in-state. Now, Ole Miss is obviously playing up location, be the guy in-state, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much what I would expect Ole Miss to try to sell him on. Let's see what he has to say about Alabama. I'm not too concerned about Ole Miss at this point, even though they are the in-state team. Let's see what he has to say about Alabama.
My brother, he played for Indiana back in 2019 under the head coach, Coach DeBoer. So, I know him real well. He know me real well. He been seeing my face since I've been in 7th or 8th grade. So, and they just had a lefty quarterback, Michael Penix, just like me. We're around the same size. So, they always tell me I can come in and do the same things. Like, they see so much similarity between me and Michael.
All right. So DeBoer is comparing to Michael Penix. Very smart. Go watch the tape. Go see what Michael Penix did in my offense. I like that. I am a little surprised that during NFL draft prep that Michael Penix is reaching out to Deuce Knight. I mean, hey, that's great. He must have a really good relationship with Kalen DeBoer if he's going to throw in that kind of favor at this point in his kind of development of his career. So Alabama, that kind of stands out to me a little bit. We'll talk more about it. Let's see what he has to say next about South Carolina.
Their offensive coordinator, Coach Dow Loggins, he spent 17 years in the NFL. And so that's a thing that I hear a lot from him. Like he gonna have you ready. Like Spencer Rattler, he was at the Senior Bowl the other day, and he won Senior Bowl MVP. And like I see it on Twitter all the time, like that they believe Spencer is like his mind is the most NFL ready, and the way he go about things on the board and things like that. And so as a coach, that looks good on you too.
So we see South Carolina, they're involved, they're recruiting him, they're trying to sell him on Spencer Rattler, sell him on the Dream South Carolina. I don't think it's going to work, but good effort there. Now he also is talking to Coach Prime, and I think this could get interesting. Let's see what he has to say about Colorado. Inside Scoop fans, college football season is wrapping up, and it also means that the NFL is winding down as well. But there's still some great games left in the season. And you know what's not great, though? Finding last-minute tickets. Finding last-minute tickets, it can be a nightmare. Do not let this be the way your 2024 goes. That's why I'm here to tell you about Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. The Game Time app is great. It's easy to use, and it works in any city, any team. And you get the best price guarantee. Do not stress over getting into your team's favorite games anymore. There's only so many big games, and you need to get these tickets at the best prices. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money. Zone deals, all right? This is where you pick a section, and Game Time picks the seats for big savings. So here's what we're going to do. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Colorado, that's a new offer for me. I've been getting to know the staff for the past 2 weeks, and they've they've been coming on me hard. They try to tell me they're trying to make up lost ground because I'm committed to Notre Dame already. And they just offered me 2 weeks ago. So, but they message to me is just like they feel like me and Shadur, we got a lot of similarities, and you want to go somewhere like where you can see yourself playing. Like I can see myself in Shadur. You feel me? Because like they say just watching my tape and then watching Shadur's tape, we just kind of calm back there in the pocket. It really looks like we're not really. It really looks like we're not trying, but deep down we know we are really trying. But that's just the calmness and then how easy you make the game look.
I see the similarities there between Shador and Deuce Knight. Colorado definitely trying to make up ground. I didn't realize that they just offered him 2 weeks ago, so they're the new team in this race. We're going to break this down. So you guys can go watch this video if you want. It'll be in the description below. You can watch the full thing. But I think Deuce Knight, the 4-star quarterback out of Mississippi, he's saying all the right things right now. No visit set. He hasn't set foot on another campus since his commitment to Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman does make a big deal out of that. Now, he doesn't like his commitments taking visits. They've actually dropped some guys because of it. He's fairly strict on this rule. So I think we got to see what happens here. I think it's interesting that Michael Penix spoke to him. DeBoer has shown that he can develop a left-handed quarterback. Deuce Knight is a left-handed quarterback, and not everybody likes left-handed quarterbacks. DeBoer embraces that, but Notre Dame does as well. So we got to see. Notre Dame has done a great job with mom. I think if you're going to flip Deuce Knight, you got to flip his mom as well. Right now, though, it looks like he's pretty set. I would say he's pretty set with his commitment to Notre Dame. You guys let me know, comment section below. What do you guys think? Right now, I think the point that we're going to watch is until he shows up somewhere else, then I don't think he would be considered a strong commitment to Notre Dame. Right now, he's still recruiting other guys. He does a great job on social media recruiting for Notre Dame as well. He's sort of like the bell cow. I know last year, if you followed this channel, we talked a lot about DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway, I thought, was the best recruiter in the country. Deuce Knight, maybe not the best right now in the country, but he does a great job. And I do think right now he's the bell cow for that Notre Dame class. But how long are you going to talk to Alabama every day? Every day? Like, you're really talking to Ole Miss every day? You're going to talk to them every day of the week and then not go for a visit. See, I think that the more that you talk, you kind of leave that door open. Hey, if I'm going to talk to them every day, then you'd probably be interested in seeing them in person. Maybe you'd be seeing them in person coaching at a game, make a visit for a game. But like I said, Freeman has this strict policy on commits taking visits. He doesn't like it unless you're going to only visit Notre Dame. So I think that's where this recruitment starts to get interesting. I don't think obviously we're not at that point yet. Deuce Knight doesn't have any other visits scheduled to Ole Miss, Colorado, or Alabama. But if he's talking to them nearly every day, how could a visit not get brought up during these conversations? So what do you guys think? Does Deuce Knight not end up taking any visits, solidifies his commitment to Notre Dame, and everybody just ends up happy? Or do you think this thing gets dicey down the stretch? Does he take a couple visits? Does DeBoer get him on campus? Does he take any official visits? I know it's still early in the cycle. We got a long way to go. Deuce Knight, though, right now, solidly committed to Notre Dame. They have the number 5 class in the country, doing really well right now. So let me know what you guys think. Comment section below. How does this class wrap up? Does Deuce Knight stick? Let me know. Alabama's quarterback board is starting to take shape. Kalen DeBoer and his staff have their sights set on a couple major flip targets. I got Andrew Bone from Bama Online in this video. We're going to talk about the recent contact between Bama and elite quarterbacks Deuce Knight and Julian Lewis, both of whom are committed to other programs, so this is going to get fun. But first, Bama fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We are just getting started this offseason, and we need you to be a part of it. So go ahead, hit subscribe for me, please. Let's bring on Andrew Bone of Bama Online. And Andrew, we've been talking a lot about Deuce Knight this week on this channel, and you wrote an insider piece yesterday that caught my interest. So it seems like Deuce Knight is emerging as a top priority at QB for Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Deuce Knight was one of the very first kids that Coach Kalen DeBoer went and saw when he hit the recruiting trail. I think it was the very first day he hit the recruiting trail. We saw some photos from George County High School. And this is a relationship that has gone for a long time. Coach DeBoer coached his brother at Indiana for a year when he was the offensive coordinator. They've known each other since, I think, Deuce was in the 7th or 8th grade. The relationship goes back that far. And talking to Deuce the other day, Joseph Hastings of Bama Online spoke with Deuce at the UA Next camp in Atlanta, and he said that he talks to Coach DeBoer every other day. And he's still solid with his commitment to Notre Dame. We're not saying that he's on flip watch or any of that just yet, but there is interest. And, I don't think he would be speaking to Coach DeBoer on an almost an everyday basis if there was not interest. He also mentioned speaking to Nick Sheridan, the new Alabama offensive coordinator. So some interest there. Can Alabama get him on campus for a visit this spring, this summer? That's kind of the next step. It doesn't have any plans just yet. It does plan on getting back to Notre Dame, and obviously Notre Dame is going to do everything they can to make sure that he's happy and make sure that he sticks on board. But he's certainly a top target for Alabama. We haven't seen a lot of quarterback offers extended by this new staff just yet, and I think a lot of that just has to do with they have the guys that they really right now, whether that's Juju Lewis. These are guys that are committed elsewhere, but they have indicated that they will take visits. They are going to return to campus, and they are talking to this staff. So I don't think Alabama wants to really accept quarterback offers to players that might be below those guys right now until they know for sure that those guys are locked in with their schools. They're not going to take any more visits, and they shut things completely down.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that there are only a total of 3 offers out there, and that just leads me to my next question. What's the level of contact between the other two, Juju Lewis and George McIntyre? Juju Lewis committed to USC. George McIntyre more recently committed to Tennessee.
Yeah, so these are the 3 offers that we know about. There could be some more offers that are out there. Bryce Underwood, number 1 quarterback in the country, could potentially have an offer, but he hasn't announced anything, hasn't said that Alabama's offered him. But these are the 3 offers that we're aware of. And George McIntyre received an offer about a week before he announced his commitment to Tennessee. So I think that offer may have been a little bit, hey, we know he's about to make a decision here. We need to get that offer out there to let him know that he has an offer from this new coaching staff. But I think he's pretty locked in with his commitment to Tennessee. Now, Juju Lewis, the interesting thing about him and Deuce Knight is both of those guys had offers from Coach DeBoer when they were at Washington. So they had been evaluated. They had been in contact. They know that coaching staff, and that coaching staff, at least from an evaluation standpoint, knows these guys. So I think, as we kind of get into the spring, coaches go out on the road, they're going to start seeing more guys. They're going to start evaluating, and we could potentially see some more offers that get extended. But as far as Deuce Knight, Juju Lewis, those guys at least have some interest. They're talking to the coaching staff. Juju, the other day at the UA Next camp, said that he had already been in contact with Nick Sheridan, the new OC. Is planning on getting to Tuscaloosa this spring. I think he's about to release the dates of his spring visits. It hasn't been released yet, but I think that's coming out. He said I would expect Alabama to be on that list. He was trying to get to Tuscaloosa right before the dead period hit. Wasn't able to make it. Probably a good thing because Ryan Grubb was still the offensive coordinator at the time at Alabama, and Ryan Grubb actually visited Juju twice during the contact period in January, and the relationship started to build a little bit. But now he's forming that relationship with Coach DeBoer and with Coach Sheridan. So we'll see if he ends up making a trip to Tuscaloosa, which I said we expect him to do that. But how much is he willing to listen, and then we'll kind of see where things stand with him as the summer gets going.
Now, one of the other major storylines this offseason has been the assistant coaching carousel that seems like it'll never stop spinning. But this week, it seems like Alabama has finalized their coaching staff. So how do you view this staff from a recruiting perspective?
I think Alabama fans should be excited about this staff. A lot of energy. You look at the staff overall, it's a lot of young talent, a lot of young coaches that are energetic, that get out there, develop a lot of good relationships. Christian Robinson, this week probably has the most connections in the Southeast, being a Georgia native, coaching at Florida, coaching at Auburn. Obviously, coaching in the Southeast is a big benefit. So I think that's going to help. But the biggest thing with Alabama right now is getting a lot of these kids on campus for spring visits, because a lot of them don't know these coaches. A lot of coaches were on the West Coast, so you're starting to build these relationships. You look at somebody like Ryan Williams, who decommitted from Alabama the day that Nick Saban retired. 2 weeks later, he was back on board with Alabama after meeting with Coach DeBoer, and just really building a strong connection and relationship there. And that's what these coaches want. They want to get kids on campus. They want to start building these relationships. They want to get to know these guys. And I think for the most part, Alabama did a pretty good job of stopping the bleeding as far as the transfer portal, and they were able to keep a lot of kids on campus, especially in that 2024 class. Alabama signed the number 2 overall recruiting class in the country. Only 2 of those players ended up leaving and transferring after meeting with the entire staff, because there's a lot of belief in those guys. So I think the more you get kids on campus, the better the relationships are going to continue to grow. But I will say, I think they're behind a little bit, but it's easy to catch up when you have 10 months to work.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing that Nick Saban was always able to do was go into the state of Georgia and pull arguably the number 1 player in that state on a given year. So, Andrew, the last thing I want to know is Alabama going to be able to go into the state of Georgia this year and then land an elite defensive lineman? Mainly, I'm talking Elijah Griffin, the number 1 defensive lineman in America out of Savannah, Georgia. We know that Kalen DeBoer made a point to go see him last month. So what's the status with Elijah Griffin in Alabama?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Elijah is trying to get him on campus. I don't think Alabama is in that top group right now, but if they can get him on campus, spend time with the coaching staff. Defensive line coach is still the same. It's still Freddie Rhodes. So that relationship has been ongoing, for the last year or so. So if they can get him on campus, they're going to have a chance. Alabama spent a lot of time in Georgia in the month of January, because they know how important that state is. You kind of look back to Nick Saban when he first took over at Alabama. First state that he hit was Louisiana, because he knew how rich of a talent state that is, and they were able to have so much success through the years recruiting in Louisiana. Even though LSU was the main program, they were still able to get the top guys in Louisiana to go to Alabama. So Coach DeBoer, his staff, there's a lot of connections with his staff, even on the support staff in the Peach State. So they're going to be recruiting that state pretty hard. Defensive linemen certainly at a premium in Georgia, and Elijah Griffin, certainly a top priority for a lot of schools. But so is Justice Terry, who's a 5-star defensive lineman out of Manchester. He's a guy that has came out and said that Alabama is in his top 2. Still very interested, plans on visiting Tuscaloosa this spring, and continues to have strong relationships at Alabama. Christian Garrett, who goes to high school just outside of Athens, has Alabama in his top 7. And, I would say Alabama probably on the outside group for Christian right now, but anytime you can get these kids on campus during the spring, it's going to be very important, because then you can get them back for an official visit during the summer and go from there.
Yeah, and it seems like, hey, just because Nick Saban's gone doesn't mean Alabama won't still have a strong presence in the state of Georgia. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with these top prospects. But that would be a huge statement if Kalen DeBoer can go land 1 or 2 of those guys that you just mentioned. We'll see how it all plays out. Visits are key. Andrew Bone with Bama Online. We'll be talking to you all offseason. Thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks, Josh.
A new prediction has LSU in position to add another elite addition to an already loaded 2025 class. And in this video, I got LSU recruiting insider Shea Dixon on to take us behind the scenes of this latest development. And you guys know who I'm talking about. 4-star offensive tackle Micah DeBose out of Alabama is currently trending to the Tigers. And we're going to hit on a few other big targets. But first, LSU fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We love talking LSU. We love getting Shea Dixon on. So go ahead, hit subscribe for me, please. Okay, bring in Shea Dixon, and we're here to talk about four-star interior offensive lineman Micah DeBose. Now, he decommitted from Georgia about 5, 6, 8 weeks ago now. I'm not even sure when. But right off that decommitment, he was trending heavily to Auburn. I mean, I've talked to Auburn insiders on this show multiple times about DeBose, and it seemed like a commitment was imminent until this week. Chad Simmons, director of recruiting for On3, put in a prediction for DeBose to LSU. So, Shea, what are you hearing behind the scenes of this recruitment?
Yeah, DeBose is a guy coming out of Alabama, out of Iger, in Mobile, which Mobile's an area not too far from Louisiana and Baton Rouge. The drive isn't bad. So even though you've got an in-state Auburn team who's been viewed as the leader since he dropped that commitment to Georgia, as you mentioned, or backed off of it in January, he made it into LSU again. He was here for a game. Then he visited again right before the dead period, which will obviously last a complete month. And I think as the dust settled from that visit, and then Josh, as all of these coaches in all schools use this month to kind of reshuffle the board, figure out priorities. You look at a guy like DeBose, they sent the OC and O-line coach out to watch him play basketball. They got him on the final visit before the dead period. They had him in for a game. When they had him in before that, a lot of these times he was committed to Georgia at the time. So they've been chipping away here for a long time. I would consider it to be an LSU-Auburn race, but as On3's Chad Simmons said this week, at this point, he was moving his pick off of Auburn onto LSU. And Josh, are we surprised? You said we've been hanging out a lot. LSU has the number 1 recruiting class. DeBose is ranked by the On3 industry rankings as the number 1 interior offensive lineman. A reminder, LSU already has commits from the number 1 quarterback in Bryce Underwood, the number 1 running back in Harlem Berry, the number 1 receiver in DeCorian Moore. Now they're just sort of moving along on the offense here with the offensive line now.
Yeah, why not? Hey, but Ohio State hot on their heels at number 2 right now, also adding some big pieces to their 2025 class. So now LSU has 2 commitments on the offensive line. They're obviously pursuing DeBose, and there's more here. We'll take a look. LSU in the trenches, and we'll start at the top. Offensive tackle Lamont Rogers. He's out of Mesquite, Texas, and he's 6'7", 305, the number 8 ranked offensive tackle in America. Does LSU have a chance to go into the state of Texas and pull out one of their best offensive tackles?
They definitely have got a shot. Lamont Rogers has been a guy who's been in contact with LSU and O-line coach Brad Davis and that staff for a long time now. And LSU's going to recruit Louisiana. They're going to recruit East Texas, the border states, and they'll pop into Bama, Georgia, Florida. Right. But this will be the home base, and he sort of fits that bill. So early on, LSU sort of trended as the team to beat. I think they still are in that position. Now, we've seen more and more O-linemen pop up. You can't take everybody, but I do still have Lamont Rogers in that group of, let's say Josh, LSU signs 5 offensive linemen. Right now, I would say he's a guy who could go into that group, depending on how the dominoes fall. But yes, if he were to decide right now, if it were signing day, I think he would pick LSU.
Massive frame there on Lamont Rogers. All right, now we're going to talk about Tyler Miller, and he, big boy too, 6'5", 315 out of Laurel, Mississippi. What's the latest on Tyler Miller and LSU?
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, there's been others who have been talked up at offensive tackle, including guys like Michael Fasusi. But here's a guy in Tyler Miller who, at On3, we have him ranked as the number 6 offensive tackle in the country. He's a top 50 prospect. I think he's number 51 overall, but coming out of Laurel, again, LSU OC and O-line coach went and watched him, checked in on him during January's eval period. Now they've got a visit set up coming for the spring. He's already visited before. And when they offered him, there was buzz that he could pop right away. It was like, that was an offer that he was waiting on. That was over the summer and the fall. It didn't happen. Everybody's on him now. He is one of the elite tackles, but you just can't count LSU out. They have just been so good under Brad Davis at recruiting the offensive line. Now, the caveat here, the one thing I will say here is that Ole Miss and State want him badly. And it doesn't really matter the state of either program. Bringing kids out of Mississippi that those schools want is very tough. I think we're seeing it right now with Caleb Cunningham, the receiver, others in Mississippi. Like, those guys will buckle down to do what they can to keep them at home. But if they can go into Mississippi and grab a big-time player, Tyler Miller's number one on that wish list.
Yeah, not an easy task going into the SIP and pulling out some of their best players. Although Deuce Knight, currently committed to Notre Dame, got a video on him on this channel. You guys can go check that out as well. Let's move on to the last name on this list, and that's Darius Aflava. Now, this is interesting because he's 6'5", 280, but he's in the state of Utah. Now, we're talking about Texas. We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about Mississippi, about where LSU kind of goes to recruit. Shay, Utah, how often do they go to Utah to recruit?
Not too often. They got Siaki Ika out of Utah a number of years back, D tackle, who went to Baylor with Dave Aranda. But yes, I am breaking the rule here, and Brian Kelly's even laid it out. I can give you the facts. They signed 29 guys, Josh, and had a top 5 class on 3 just this past cycle. 26 of the 29 were from Louisiana or a border state. So they're not going, even with the LSU brand, they know they can recruit their foothold and be fine. So why do I have a guy like Darius Afalava on this video? Why did I put him in my first prediction piece? It's not just the Utah thing could be a deterrent for some. Here's the thing that you have to know to peel back the onion or the curtain here. Afalava's more than half his family lives in Denham Springs in the Gonzales area. That's about 15 minutes outside of Baton Rouge. So he's in Baton Rouge 3 to 4 times a year, he told me. He was at LSU summer camp. He came back a couple of weeks later, flew back in just for a visit, came for a game, and is now lining up another visit. So you get the sense that with him flying in that often, that he's very much in play because he's kind of got family here. It wouldn't be like he goes to LSU and he's so far from home and he's homesick and he wants to go back to Utah. Having that much family in the area, I think, has put him firmly on the board. And he earned that offer in camp with Brad Davis. And since then, he's blown up. He's got offers from coast to coast, whether it's Oregon down to LSU. It will be interesting to see how he unfolds. But with 10 months to signing day, Josh, 11 months, however you want to view the early period versus the traditional national signing day, I do have Afalava. If we're going to say they take 5-0 linemen, him and Lamont Rogers are both right in that mix for me as guys I feel like if they really pushed for and wanted on board that they could get.
Okay, you sold me. I believe you. He's a legit target. So we'll see if LSU can invade Utah for the 6'5", 280-pound offensive tackle. All right, we talked about it. LSU has the number 1 class in America, but, it's kind of like a bonfire. If you got to keep that fire burning, you got to constantly be throwing logs back on it. So if they're going to maintain this number 1 class and keep Ohio State and Georgia at bay, who do you think could be the next big commit for LSU? Is it DeBose? Is it somebody else?
DeBose hasn't set a timeline. Now, look, he's also said that whenever he feels comfortable, he'll shut it down. So you could put him into that mix. There's always the reality that if they offer a guy, specifically in Louisiana, that could lead to a quick commitment. But I'll give you 2 guys. One on defense, Corey Adams, who coming out of the New Orleans area is a D lineman edge rusher. He's already got an offer. He's got an open invitation to commit. And they've already got a number of in-state guys, this will lead to my next point, committed and on board. They want to start stacking up edge and D linemen. That's a need for them. So wouldn't be surprised if a guy like that did it at some point, but everybody's kind of watching James Simon. And he's a top 10 running back coming out of Calvary Baptist, had a monster junior season. And LSU was going for this 1-2 punch at running back, both in Louisiana. They have Harlem Berry committed. Now can they get James Simon? And when you pull up the rankings, Josh, we talk about recruiting Louisiana, locking down Louisiana. The top 8 players in the state right now, 7 of them are committed to LSU. The only one who's not, James Simon. So I think by default, almost everyone is saying, hey, this list would look pretty good if all, the top 8 guys y'all have already offered were committed. So yes, the push is on James Simon. And I will add that his teammate, Devin Harper, who's blocking for him now over at Calvary Baptist, was the most recent commitment for LSU. So that bodes well, right? You've got a teammate and an O-lineman there.
Yeah, I think so. Some really good intel there, Shay. We're going to see what happens next. Is it Micah DeBose? Is it a Corey Adams? Is it a James Simon? We will see. But as of right now, LSU is rolling with the number 1 class in America. Shay Dixon from the Bengal Tiger. You guys do a great job covering all things LSU Tigers. Appreciate you dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Josh, we made it an entire Inside Scoop without you mentioning you were the first person to put in a crystal or on 3 RPM on a certain number one
right.
overall prospect.
I was.
Do you need to
just
fit-
because of that, you guys
need
should
to
hit
fit it
subscribe
in?
right now. Hit subscribe. Appreciate you, Shay.
This man right here, the first one to predict Bryce Underwood to LSU. Give him his credit.
Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.